Hello, hello.
How do I mute this? It's on, buddy. Mute it.
I got it. We'll give everyone a couple more minutes to jump in, and then we'll get going.
Good afternoon, Coach Jimmy.
Hi, Sophia. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. No complaints yet.
Is it just going to be the five of us today?
It might be, but Coach Mike is going to put it online somehow for everyone else to view. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started now. For those of you guys who haven't met me, I'm Coach Jimmy. I recently took over the Tigershark group, and I'm super pumped to have the opportunity to work with little kids again. We recently hired Coach Sawyer to assist with Tigershark, Fireball, and Nova groups, and he joined FAST, I believe, his freshman year of high school and swam all through high school with Coach Mike, and is taking a gap year from Hawaii and training with Arete still. So our mission statement is world-class character through excellence in swimming. And I think that really embodies my biggest takeaway from, I think, sports in general is the skills that athletes learn from from their teams, their coaches, directly impact how they work with others in school, college, and when they enter the workforce. And in my experience, athletes are always better students and better employees and coworkers. What we really want to focus on is the overall development of the athlete as a person. So we want them to be great students, citizens, and swimmers. And so where that goes into their training is we want them to be very well rounded. We want them to really embrace swimming, all four strokes, IM, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. So I also coach the high school and senior groups. I assist with Arte a little bit, and I'm the head girls coach at Fossil Ridge High School and an assistant with the boys. And for a lot of those athletes, they, for some of them, it's their first year swimming as freshmen. And so one of the things that I've talked to some of the kids about is get swimming some of those more difficult races, like Murray's swimming 400 IM here in a couple weeks. And for a 10-year-old, that's a really, really big race. And I personally didn't swim my first 400 IM until I was a sophomore in college. I have a couple high school kids and senior kids who haven't swam a few of those 200 strokes, 400 IM. I actually have a couple of them who will be swimming their first 400 IM with Murray. But what I really want to do is really talk about those events far in advance so that when it comes time to swim them, they're not as scary. So some kids may not swim 400 IM this year. Some may not swim the 500. But we're still going to talk about it. We're going to build up to it. We'll talk about the skills for those races. So when the time comes, they're comfortable, they're ready to go, and they'll be really successful at it. And I'm not going to put any of the kids in events they're not ready for. So which is one of the reasons I was super hesitant about adding anyone in the 400 IM in the first place. And that was a conversation I had with Murray's parents on her swimming it. So again, we want the kids to be well-rounded. I want them to be comfortable swimming those more advanced races as they move to Ascend, Challenge, Senior, and Arte. So in addition to hitting all of those strokes, it's also hitting varying distances. So this past Thursday, we took a step back a little bit and we started talking about how to swim 200 freestyle. And I think that's going to be one of the big events that I really want to focus on with this group, because it's going to focus on big speed changes, which is something else that some of my older kids really struggle with. So in addition to the IM, the 200 freestyle are going to be sort of the bread and butters that I want to focus on with these guys over the course of the year. With the move to Mulberry, I think the way we do our dry land is really beneficial to these guys. So we really want to focus on teaching the kids the modules that they'll focus on as they get older. We want to have proper technique throughout. And so one of the things that we've been doing is for our squats, that curb outside the building is for most of the kids a perfect distance for them to squat down to. Sorry. Overall, again, I want to reinforce that it's about the long-term and overall development of the athlete. So while we would love for the kids to qualify for age group state at the end of short course season, we want to really emphasize on the big picture and focus on the skills that'll help them qualify for senior state when they're older, sectionals, junior nationals, hopefully Olympic trials. So we may, it's not the end all be all if we don't qualify for age group state, is what I want to say. I want to set them up to be successful as they continue to move through the program. So some expectations for the group. And I talked to some of the kids about this here and there. Obviously, I would love to see them 5 days a week. I know that's not realistic for everyone, which is why the minimum practice attendance is 75%. So I think that comes out to, on average, 4, maybe 5 practices, or 4 practices, I think, over a 3-week period. So if they're taking a day off during the week, they'll hit 80% and they'll exceed the practice minimums to stay in the group. But also with that, I also encourage kids to partake in other sports too. And I do that, I would say, for everyone up until like the senior group. Even my high school group swimmers, I think they should do multiple sports depending on what their goals are, just so that we don't want the kids to get burnt out. And we want them to train with us all the way through high school. So getting a little bit of everything, I think, is really important. And some of the things that I touch on, I like to use a lot of analogies and metaphors and stuff, and doing a lot of different activities helps the kids understand some of those things. So like with butterfly, one of my go-to metaphors is asking the kids if they're musicians, if they play any instruments, so that they then know what a metronome is. And we want to kick butterfly at a specific rhythm. It'll make it a lot easier for them. And then we sort of transition that once they're really comfortable swimming full 25s, 50s butterfly, into mixing that in with some breaststrokes, since those strokes are at the same rhythm. Transitioning from butterfly to breaststroke and back should be fairly seamless. And that's a drill that I work on more so with my senior group. I do it a little bit with high school, not a whole lot though. So it's something that we might touch on later on down the road, but again, it's about the long-term development. I'm very fortunate that I don't have any listening issues in the group. They listen a lot better than high school and senior, so I don't need to spend a whole lot of time there. They've been really positive coming to practice. Great effort throughout, so not a whole lot of issues there. We do ask the parents to go over the code of conduct with the kids. Again, there's no behavioral issues there, so it's not a big thing to worry about. Water bottles, though, have been a little bit of an issue for some kids. Everyone needs to have a water bottle as much as they need to have their fins, their kickboards, all of that. Before we made the move over to Mulberry, I was asking that kids have 2 just in case, because it is so hot in there. But there are water fountains up in the stands and on deck that they are able to refill those water bottles with. Training specifics. So right now we're sort of in a developmental general conditioning phase where we're focusing on a lot of kick. And I think what we've done this past week was we do a little kick set, then we hit some drill work. And we did that for 30 to 35 minutes, and we'll stick with that for a few more weeks. From there, we'll sort of get into a little bit of an aerobic base. We'll still be very kick driven, because that's how we teach the kids to change speeds. But we'll get into some longer swims. We'll hit more 75s, 100s. We might hit a couple 200s in there just to make those longer swims not as scary. And then what I really like to do is the week of meets really focus on specific race skills. So really focusing on underwaters, turns, starts. And as we get closer to some of our championship meets, we'll spend more time on that than we would, say, going into scary fast. And then not since they're still so young, there's not really much of a championship type phase where we're going to start cutting back on yardage and dry land and having them rest and stuff. That'll be a little bit more clear to them once they're older. I think challenge is probably the first group where they'll start seeing practices lighten up quite a bit, and they'll actually start resting for those big championship meets. Vacations. So during normal year, the best times for vacations are going to be August, spring break, Christmas break, and near the end of the school year, early summer. The times that we recommend families try to avoid are going to be in November, just leading right into our big end of the year meets. This year we have mid-season finale the second week of December. January is another bad time just because we're now getting into the end of our short course season. And then late June, July is going to be the end of our normal long course year. So those we want to try to avoid, but things happen and we can certainly work around any obstacles that happen to pop up. We have our practice schedule online. I try to make any updates to the group calendar as soon as I hear about them in our Friday staff meetings. For any last minute, I would say within 24-hour changes, we'll send email and a text message through the website. So if you don't have a phone number attached or have the text messaging disabled, we do recommend that you guys enable that. The balcony is open both at Epic and Mulberry to view practices. I'm not 100% sure what the people minimums are at Mulberry, if it's different like it is for Epic. Right now we're allowed 75 people on deck at Epic because it's 2 pools, and then we're allowed another 75 in the stands. So Mulberry might be a similar situation, but at the end of the day, you guys will always have access to your kids. And then I'll go ahead and put my phone number in the chat, sort of as in case of emergency type situation. I recently just got rid of my Texas phone number, so I'm still trying to memorize my Colorado one. And I'll go ahead and I'll put that out in the weekly email this week as well. Since Tigershark is a competitive age, or the competitive group for these guys' age group, it is recommended that they attend as many meets as possible. And when you're signing up for meets, that's going to be through the team website. There is usually a little bit of leeway between the registration deadline and when our entries are due. So if you happen to miss it, please email me, and most of the time I will be able to get you guys in, but try to get registered for meets as soon as they become available. In the notes section, if there's any requests for the kids to swim events, I do try to respect those. But again, I don't put the kids in events that I don't think they're ready for. For meets, kids should be in their team suits, team caps, and the appropriate team shirt for the session. If you need any of those, please email Coach Doug and our bookkeeper, Kelly Gillen, and those items will be billed to your account, and Coach Doug will start bringing those items over to Mulberry as those orders come in or need to be filled. So a little bit on the weekly email, since I do have kids that practice first thing Monday morning, I typically do send those out on Sunday as opposed to Monday, which I think has typically been done in the past. On some occasions, they may come out on Saturdays if in the event a schedule changes, just so to allow parents an extra day for communication. And that might become a little bit more the norm when we get into January, just because I do pick up coaching the Fossil girls in addition to high school, senior, and Tigershark. In the event of any particular issues, the chain of command is first me, then it'll go to Coach Doug, Coach Mike, and then the board president, Mark Morehouse. So hopefully I'm able to solve any issues that you have. And a lot of times I'll reach out to Coach Mike or Coach Doug anyway, just to keep them in the loop and what's going on, or ask their advice on how to handle any situations. And then finally, the equipment for Tigershark, goggles and cap. And the kids should have extras in case they break. Practice and team suit, a healthy snack in the event the kids get hungry or need a little pick-me-up. Team shirts for meets, water bottles, fins, buoy, mesh bag, and none of those have been an issue yet. A couple kids have come to practice in flip-flops. I do recommend closed-toed shoes, running shoes for our dry land. And that's everything. Do you guys have any questions, parents, kids? You can type it in the chat or unmute yourself. All right, well, cool. I'll let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys Monday afternoon.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Yeah.